Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Agay. I'm here with Poh Sim, our E-Community Director. We continue our reflection on Digital Nehemiah Week 2020. Decided to bring the boss lady into the studio to talk about how this whole experience was. Poh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Patrice. I must say this is exciting. I'm just caught up with this whole podcast system, new system that we have that I haven't been in before. So it's exciting.
I know. Usually you make things happen. Here it is. Now you're in front of the camera.
I know, right?
Well, Poh, thank you so much for coming. Poh, I thought that it'd be good for you and I to kind of discuss how this thing came about and to look at also while we at it, Asia just won the second place International Business Plan Competition. I want to talk about that. And then, of course, also want to talk about our host for Asia. We're believing God for great things in Asia. We're going to have Chris come into studio with you next week so we can interview him. I know he's been posting some things about what God did. And so it's just an amazing, amazing journey. But anyway, Poh, let's begin. Again, for our friends out of Asia, good to see you guys. Welcome. Thanks for watching. As we have the discussion, questions, comments, please share with us. Come into the conversation. There goes Samantha. Samantha says, hello, Poh. All right, Samantha, good to have you. Samantha is a loyal fan. Samantha, even at midnight, 1 o'clock Asia time, Malaysia time, Samantha is watching the podcast sometimes. So then, thank you for watching. Poh, let's first begin. This is the first time you on the podcast in a while. You've been, I think I interviewed you a while ago, but let's kind of start with, how you joined Nehemiah, because I want to kind of start there and kind of work our way back so that people can understand who you are. So you went through biblical entrepreneurship in Malaysia, and I discovered you actually in the BE class where you were so helpful to me. Let's talk about first that. What led you first to enroll in biblical entrepreneurship?
Well, I think I knew I was kind of led to build a business, to be able to just kind of survive and be able to do ministry. So when we were told about the class, it was one of those things that I really wanted to learn. And I think what was impactful for me for the class was because I've been to, these Christian business seminars and conferences and things like that. And it felt a lot like, well, you're just kind of learning how to do business just like the rest of the world. But they kind of threw in, different biblical verses and scriptures into it to kind of make it Christian. But biblical entrepreneurship really kind of opened my eyes to see, how God views business and how you can use that as a platform to bring about his redemption to the world. And so I was really kind of bought into that. And I think just kind of getting to know you, your heart and your spirit as well. So when you kind of approached me at the end of the class, and I think you just said something like, oh, you do graphics. Can you just do graphics for us? I was like, okay, sure. So it just kind of started from there.
Yeah, I actually asked you if you're good. You said, yes, I'm awesome. I'm amazing.
I did not say that. I didn't know how to answer you. How in the world do you answer a question like that?
Well, let me tell you about Poh, because, what I didn't realize is how smart this gal was. She of course, went to high school in Malaysia, but went to college in the U.S. She's a graduate of Wellesley College. You got a scholarship to go to Wellesley. Is that correct, Poh? In Massachusetts. One of the things that really I liked about her, and I hate to say this, but there was this, she had a little touch of America. I can sense a familiar spirit when her and I interacted. But upon graduating from from college, from Wellesley, she decided to go back to Malaysia. And somebody like her with her talent would have been in high demand by any U.S. company. Particularly coming from Wellesley, is a small liberal college, but that's very prestigious. Hillary Clinton, for instance, came out of that college. Not known for its social decorum, but definitely known for its academic and it's producing leaders. And then she went back to Malaysia, and there she worked in ministry, worked in business. But really use her skill to advance ministries from her church to various ministries. and then started her own business as a freelancer, Vinehouse Productions. Matter of fact, when she went into biblical entrepreneurship, though your business plan, incidentally, was not in Vinehouse Production. Your business plan was do you remember what your business plan was?
I do.
What did you want to do?
I wanted to start at a few range using like recycled products. I think for me, what was interesting was that Vinehouse Productions for me was just kind of a way to survive. So I started a business when we first planted the church. And so it was just kind of means of survival. It was more kind of like a freelance thing. I didn't really see it like a business, you know, hiring like a big team, like scaling it and all that. So I think when you talked about producing a business plan, I was like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, but not seeing what was right in front of me.
Yeah, so, yeah. And then, of course, since Poh has joined Nehemiah, Vinehouse Productions kind of merged in with Nehemiah Project. A lot of the service that she provided through that, she now does it through the Penang E-Community Center. And so it's interesting. So going from, hey, can you do graphics, to evolving into becoming the E-Community Director, and now actually, and our Chief Innovative Officer. Because essentially, people often say, Patrice, how do you do all this? I say, I just dream. Poh builds it. We really have a great partnership. And Poh, it's been just kind of fun. I mean, I tell you, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, but I've worked with very few people with whom I had this kind of chemistry and this type of both spiritual and natural rhythm in terms of the ability to create and produce and develop. And so I thank you for that. Elizabeth Ingram says, can't wait to get to know you better, Poh. So Poh, question for you. So I know people are curious, okay, Malaysia, when they see the work you've done, they see your ability to lead and manage and to be able to support this global work, as we'll talk about here today. They said, but can anything good come out of Malaysia? Give us a little background about Malaysia and what's unique about that island, or it's not an island, that country. Penang is an island, but Malaysia, that has produced a Poh Sim.
Well, firstly, I must say, Patrice, thank you for your faith in me, because the honest truth is when, you know, I was asked to step into all these many things, I wasn't even sure if I could do it. And I remember, you know, I asked you too, like, why me? Because you had so many other people, you know. So I think God's hand was definitely upon it, and that kind of connection as well, bringing us together. But in terms of Malaysia, I mean, Asia is really pretty advanced technologically. And then what is also interesting about Malaysia, it's not just the infrastructure, you know, and it's not technological advancement, but also we're so multicultural. And I think it gives us that platform to be able to work with all these different cultures, you know, globally, because Nehemiah is such a global organization. So, and I think also between the experiences, you know, whether it is through learning how to think, you know, and being in that at hectic pace in college, or being in the grind of ministry, you know, kind of learning perseverance and all that, and faith. I think all of that just kind of came together. And so I kind of see God's hand in how, you know, he shapes you from all the various experiences that you had to kind of piece things together to prepare you for this new stage that he has put you on.
Wow, powerful. Well said. Beautiful country, Malaysia. I've been there several times. Our friends and from Malaysia, greetings to you all. I mean, now we have you, we have Sam, we have Kat, and soon we have Chris. Not Chris. Which one? I keep confusing the two Chris. Which one is coming? Chris Oy is coming on staff. Just good stuff. Poh, you've been. I remember doing a pastors conference in Malaysia, and just hearing the reputation you had within the church among pastors over there because of your contribution. You intentionally went back to really work and support the church and ministries. I mean, why didn't you develop a corporate career like most people, like you come to the US, either with a multinational back in Malaysia or within the US? What drew you to want to invest so much in the church? Because really, without that experience, you wouldn't have been equipped to do what we do at Nehemiah Project.
I think there are multiple things. I think my heart had always been for ministry. And I remember my first job being in a branding advertising company. And even then, I felt a little bit lost in a sense. I mean, I was learning all these great things, but I felt a little bit lost in like, why am I helping to build like these circular companies? You know, like what is the end goal, you know, at the end of the day? And I felt like, you know, my heart is really in order to build his kingdom. And I remember coming back to Malaysia as well after studying in college, and everybody said you could have gone to, you know, any Fortune 500 company or even anywhere else but Malaysia. You know, why come back? But it was such a strong calling, Patrice, and I could tell you stories of that, of how God specifically asked me to come back. And when I came back, I also didn't know what His plan was for me. I remember telling my youth pastor at that time, I said, I don't know very much, but I know I'm supposed to be here, so I'll give it 1 year. And I remember him saying, he said, if God called you back, it will definitely be more than 1 year. And, you know, I ended up being here for many years. So I think, you know, Nehemiah for me is that meld of ministry and the business and the professionalism of it as well, you know. And so it's an area where I feel like I can kind of thrive in terms of my contribution of what I know, the knowledge and skills, but also the mission of it is really to build His kingdom. So it's not an either or, and so that's why I think like it flows so easily out of me, because it is your heart and your skills coming together.
Well said. Sam said we want to hear that story, Poh. One thing about Poh is that she's not very committal. She just, you know, 1 day, 1 year at a time. She operates as though she'll be gone tomorrow. That's just the way she rolls. The poor guys. So, Poh, so by the grace of God, you've been here. You should remember that time when I remember when I told you about being E-Community director. You you didn't want the title. And then I remember telling you about I just had this sense that I needed you to know all aspects of the organization, because I said I believe that I need that one person that I can really rely upon. You didn't see that in yourself. So first, before we talk about the journey that got us to the digital Nehemiah 2020, somebody so gifted, so talented, but you've never really seen that in yourself. Can I ask you why, even though it's so evident to most of us?
I don't know. I mean, you just kind of do your best in whatever comes your way. I mean, even right now, sometimes, you know, the stress of people think that you're some magician or something like that could fix all the problems. But to me, every time something comes, I'm like, oh God, like what do I do? Like, how do I solve this? You know, and somehow by His grace, you know, it always gets fixed and things like that. And then every time a new one comes, they go, oh, I'm sure you figured it out. But to me, I'm like, well, I'm just kind of depending on, you know, grace and what I know, and somehow it comes together. So I couldn't really speak into that, Patrice.
Well, you know, it's the gift, but you wear it so humbly, and that is great. So you've actually have learned all aspects of Nehemiah Project. You've become the key person, and through your effort, we've built the E-Community. And then, but prior to, which by the way, for those who do not know, well, tell them, what is the E-Community? For those who are just listening, what is the Nehemiah E-Community, the thing that you lead and run?
Well, the E-Community is a membership platform. And so it functions both as an online platform where people can connect, come together, you know, engage with one another. We also have training, coaching, access to capital through the E-Community. And so now we have an online platform as well as a physical center. And so we're building these physical centers in different parts of the world so that people can kind of walk in and to be able to receive all those services that they get on the online platform as well. So it is a global community. It is a place where we can come together and stand together and encourage one another to press on and build kingdom businesses for His glory.
Oh, wow. Amen. So this begins kind of one aspect of the organization, and now it's become the economic engine. And I literally remember the evolution. Every time we talked about the evolution, you said, Patrice, but people are going to think that E-Community runs the Nehemiah Project. I said, exactly. That's where we're heading. And, you know, I was thinking about it the other day, but I was thinking about when I shared with you this vision that we will roll, that online will kind of drive everything for us. And at that time, we didn't have all the buy-in. We were very still dependent on physical, and we were trying to take the organization where it's online and then out. Wow, we are here today, complete buy-in. So, but prior to COVID-19, you and I had no idea COVID-19 was coming, and so we began to build what we call E-Community 2.0, where we launched it in January, and we kind of evolved, which is an E-Community that have better features, better bells and whistles, and so forth. And then come February, COVID-19 occurs. So we had planned to have Nehemiah Week in Mexico this year. As a matter of fact, we would have been there this week, as a matter of fact, and last week. So I came back from Kenya, and you and I met to talk about Nehemiah Week. By the grace of God,
you had to rush out of Kenya.
I did have to rush out of Kenya. I had to rush out of Kenya. Frank said, "But we got to get you out." And I didn't take it serious. I thought it was a joke. I mean, not a joke, but I said, "Oh, whatever." I mean, the borders shutting down, never. That's never happened in my lifetime. And so, of course, it happened. Came back, so we began to strategize and look at what do we do. We were one of the few organizations that quickly pivoted. We quickly rescheduled our event and decided to go digital. Take your mind back to that moment we made that decision. What were you thinking at that time?
I mean, I think for us, we decided we didn't have a choice, and that was the best decision that we had to make. And I guess in my head, I was thinking, well, worst case scenario, of course, we can just have a digital online meeting, as a basic minimum. I didn't really think much about it. And then you said, oh, because it's digital, then you kind of have to coordinate it. I'm like, okay, don't know what we're up against, but it looks like, that was the way to go.
And so we're going digital. Now, so we began to put the game plan. Now, we've done seminars, webinars, but we've never done a full-on digital conference. But Poh, what the Lord used to prepare us, you think about it, we did those COVID-19 forums. And those were difficult and hard, if you remember. Because we did one in Asia, we did one in Africa, we did two in Asia, one in Africa, two in the US, and one in Europe, one in Mexico. And I think those forums, without realizing it, was preparing us for this digital conference. Now, so I gave you the task to kind of architect the digital conference from an execution standpoint. Kind of because what many people experienced last week, they experienced what they felt to be one of the most engaged, interactive digital conferences they've ever attended. As a matter of fact, some people said to us, it was the best Nehemiah Week that they've attended. Some people felt that they never left their computer. They didn't feel like they were online on their screen. One person said that they had only slept for 2 hours the day before the first day, day one. From day one, slept 2 hours, got up, did not think they could hold on, but just came into the conference just because they had registered. Before they knew it, 5 hours was gone, and they had been engaged, and they felt it kept them up. So let's take the people back to when you first were given the task to kind of begin to lay it out. How were you processing it? How was the sausage made? I guess is the question.
I think initially, well, at least for me personally, I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, at the minimum, we knew how to run these digital seminars and, things like that. But the key point for me was when Susan came in, and I know you invited her in, and she has had that experience of attending many of these digital conferences, and so she brought on so many thought-provoking questions of what exactly do you want to do? Like, what kind of conference do you want to have? Is it just like a seminar when people are listening? Is it like an exhibition? Is it like a discussion where people are engaging? What is the experience like for people? Like, how do you try to engage, the various, the senses of the people to be able to remain engaged. And the agenda and the program flow has to also be different, because you have to capture the attention span of people when they're watching something digital online versus live. And so there were so many questions. And then she gave examples of like other people who had these chat, applications on the side, and how they got people engaged and all these kind of things. And so that was the aha moment for me, to be able to kind of sit down and say, okay, how can we really plan for this digital experience, not just another, Zoom meeting where people attend, because everybody was so tired from attending so many of these Zoom meetings. And so that kind of started the process, the thought process. And then I did a lot of research as well, in terms of all these different platforms that people have been using and what they could do. And then during that time as well, a lot of these software companies, whether it's an event registration, companies and things like that, that made available where you could put the digital meeting on their platform as well. And then of course you have things like live streaming platforms and all these different things. But then as I was doing all this research, I realized that, hey, the platform that we actually built for E-Community itself actually caters to all those various aspects. And the key thing about the E-Community platform was that it was built for social engagement. It was built in such a way where it encourages you to interact with each other. It encourages you to post things, And so then I realized that what we had, and of course this is all God, right? Even from the order and the chronological order that you kind of mentioned, how he led us to build all these things, just kind of came together. So our concern really was in terms of, we didn't want to lose that aspect of community and engagement, because that is what everybody talks about when they go to Nehemiah Week. That sense of family when they walk in, being able to see and connect with other people and things like that. And so that was what we were trying to target. And then we said that Nehemiah Week, I think at the end of the day, turned out to be more like a business card, kind of thing, like, for lack of a better word. It's just kind of one of those experiences you join to kind of know what Nehemiah Project is about. But behind Nehemiah Week is what we've been trying to build all this while, which is that community, which is that family, And so amazingly, these people who attended the conference, I keep hearing feedback too, I love the Nehemiah Project family and things like that. So it was a way where people still came together and felt connected.
Oh, wow. And that is true. Well, if you missed Nehemiah Week, don't you worry, because we have a special next couple of weeks. We're going to make the Nehemiah Week experience available at a very reduced rate for those who did not get a chance to participate, except you'll be doing it as a self-study. But you'll go through the entire experience with the content and so forth. I'm talking to Poh Sim. We're talking about the reflecting on the digital Nehemiah Week 2020, how we brought it along, and how the sauce was made to really reflect what we end up having. So, Poh, as you created this framework, we were trying to touch all the senses, some of the tools that we use. Let's talk about it, and I want to talk the tools and the features, and I want to kind of talk about some of the content flow. So if you think about how you what tools did you use, and what features did you want to emphasize as you kind of laid out the framework?
I think the two main things for us, because of the flow of the program that we wanted to create and the engagement level, Zoom was a big thing for us. And then, so Zoom was more like the stage, the live event that was kind of happening, with all these different things where you can kind of see different ones who log on. If they turn on their webcam, you can have the chat, you have the breakout rooms. And the key thing for us that we also discovered was that language interpretation feature. I don't think we could have survived without that piece, because we are a global organization at the end of the day. And we can talk about that a little bit more, Patrice, but I think this particular digital format, we had always been a global organization, but the way it has been run so far for the live version still felt like it was an English conference. And because of the other non-English speaking communities that came in, you know, it's like, okay, we have translation for you as well. But I think the digital format kind of brought that up to the forefront. And then you see these production videos that are in like multiple different languages, you know, and I love those videos, by the way. It sounded like one of those like airline safety instruction one in like different languages and stuff like that. But it brought it up to the forefront, you know, and we knew that there was this group of people listening in their own language, and we were able to kind of incorporate them into the meeting more, you know, more inclusively. So Zoom was one of the big things for us. And then everything else behind Zoom, the engagement from the pre-event to during the event and after event, and all the conversations that we want to, you know, continue carrying on, was on our platform. And so we designed it in such a way where it is easy for people to just kind of go through each day agenda, because that was our main concern, right? Going digital meant a huge learning curve for a lot of people. And then a lot of people in our network, you know, are also boomers, and they're not used to being bombarded with so many different technicalities that they have to get to know just to get onto a meeting. So we tried to make it as easy as possible for them so that they're not lost in logging in each different day or each breakout session and things like that. So it was planned in such a way where, as long as you know how to get onto the platform, you should be able to find your way through each day if you just kind of follow it, you know, follow it step by step.
Wow. By the way, if you missed it, just let us know, email our office or let us know in the chat here, and we'll make sure that once the post Nehemiah Week version or the release of the self-study version of Nehemiah Week is available, we will let you know so you can access it. You'll be able to purchase it and go through it, and you'll get to experience all this, except you'll be doing it as a self-study on your own. So we have the Zoom feature, and then we have, of course, the e-community platform for engagement. And I tell you, people were engaged. I mean, we provide the VERSE award for the most engaged all the way throughout the week and so forth. Well, let's talk a bit about the team that helped to kind of make this happen. One of the things, as you're in a debrief, the opportunity, because it was digital, of you leveraging this global team, this army that made it happen. Talk a bit about that and how you went about putting this team together.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is also one of those things that God kind of guided us into it. And because one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did was to have a tight enough program flow. And we didn't want to just have people talking for long periods of time. We wanted to make it interesting, you know, like production videos, you know, so on and so forth. And then as we were kind of thinking through these production videos, I realized that we needed a team behind them to be able to kind of support these production videos. And we have quite a number of people within our network, you know, who has like their own businesses in different parts of the world. You know, we have John, we have Nimi, we have Kenji, and all these different ones. And so it started off with just getting them together and say, hey, could you help to support these things within your region? But also we realized that as we kind of pieced the team together, we were able to tap on their strengths, you know. And so sometimes individually as one team, they're not able to deliver the best of what we were looking for, but kind of piecing them together and having them work together, we were able to get, you know, the results that we needed. But all this was only possible because it was a digital event, and we could pull like these resources of personnel from different parts of the world, and we didn't have to depend on like a live production team to be able to run everything through.
Wow. Kenji, by the way, Victor, Simba, the boss is watching. Just want you to know that. So you better behave and do well. Here's what Kenji said. Kenji, by the way, is with Bow Wow Connect, and he's the producer of this podcast. He said the e-community platform is genius. It is more than just a social platform. It is a tool for entrepreneurs to grow their business, connect, learn, and trade on a global level. I'm a huge beneficiary of the platform. Kenji was also a member of your team. So you had Mexico, you had Kenya, you had France, you had Italy, and of course you had Malaysia in the US. How difficult was it working cross culture and cross cross continental?
Well, one of the things I have to say first is that I'm really thankful that these people are professional in what they do. And so they do have their own production teams and stuff. So that kind of helped. But I also do realize that sometimes when you try to explain something, I think certain things get lost in the, the language translation. So whether it's cultural or language, it's part of that communication that you kind of have to work on as a global team. So it is one of those things, but we're really, really thankful for how all of it came together.
And you had, and for the first time, you had almost an entire team of millennials. How was it trying to keep that millennial energy in the properly channeled without them going all over the place?
Well, actually, Patrice, thankfully it wasn't so bad this time. Again, because I think they are professional. They understood the direction of where we were heading. Some of them had good ideas. Like Kenji and his team had all these ideas about what they're going to do on the social media side, how they're going to push things out and things like that. That was great. As long as we were in line, and we were in sync with our strategy and things like that, So I think between the understanding of the direction, the management of the team, and just kind of incorporating different ones, that worked out really well for us.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that these guys, as they got together, they got all kinds of ideas on where they're going to collaborate together. An amazing thing. So Susan and I came up with 5 C's that became our programming framework that we use to overlay on the technology to help with the overall engagement. And so the first C was content. We wanted to make sure that we provided transformational content throughout the week, whether it was from the handouts, whether it was from the speakers, or whatever the case was. And then the second C was clarity. We want to make sure that the attendees were clear as to what they were receiving, being able to ask questions, get proper feedback from the speakers so that they're clear, so they walk away having knowledge. The third C was contribute. We want to make sure that we provide opportunity for the attendees to contribute, to participate in the discussion, to help co-create with us. And what that meant was using the forums and being able to engage with the chat and to contribute throughout the session through the chat as well as through the E-Community platform forum. And many did. We rewarded them for that. And there was a lot of engagement there. And then the fourth C was connect. We wanted to make sure that we emphasize the importance of them connecting with each other. Because one of the highlights of Nehemiah Week are the relationships that you make and build. And so we using the membership directory and encouraging and showing them how to use a platform to connect and build relationship. And the last C was to create. Our hope was that they would, beyond the week, go and use what they've learned to enhance their businesses, create new businesses, innovate things in their community, change, transform, be co-creators along with God in making a difference in their community. And so, Poh, when you look at those 5 C's and how it overlaid into what we did, when you kind of think about it, if the technology was laid out and its 5 C's came about, how do you think these C's helped the audience to be able to understand the experience? Because we kept repeating it over and over again.
And I think the 5 C's, and you guys kind of came up with it, at the last minute, but it kind of captured the overall framework of what we were trying to get them to do. And that is kind of the experience that we were going for. It wasn't just going to be a meeting where they came in and listened to something, and walked away again, but we wanted that engagement. And so all these 5 C's kind of, wrapped it up really nicely for people to understand this is what we were trying to get them to engage with. Yeah.
Wow. Now, Poh, somebody may be listening and watching this saying, I would like to create a conference like this. I would like to create a highly engaged digital conference. Most of them doing my things live. Some organizations have canceled their events because they didn't think they could produce this magic digitally. what advice would you give someone who is listening, who leads an organization, if they want to do something similar? Of course, they can always hire an easy way to do it. But what advice would you give them if they would like to do something like this? What are things for them to consider that you, as the engineer, if you will, would like to share with them to consider as they're prepared to do something like this now or in the future?
Well, firstly, I must say, don't write off the possibility just because you do not know how to do it. And because there are so many, resources out there to be able to help you to do it. I think the first thing would be the kind of clarity of what you are trying to do, what you're trying to create. And then kind of look at the possibilities of what are the tools or applications out there that will help you to be able to do it. Now, I must be honest, Patrice, like when we first started as well, I think at least I know I had like a certain ideal that we were trying to reach, right? And although we may not have hit like 100% of that ideal picture, but we hit quite close to it, probably like 70, 80% of it. And so I think as long as you have like a clear direction of what you're trying to do, just kind of open that possibilities of exploring, because you can piece these things together and put it together in such a way where you can create that engagement. You can bring about that digital experience as well to people, even though you may not have like a fully built platform on the back end like us. And of course, just kind of bring in people who will be able to help you kind of think through things. If you are within our network, you can always connect with us. We are happy to kind of have a talk with you. And I know Elizabeth, who commented earlier, she's hoping to build something for her business as well. So just kind of have that open conversation to explore those possibilities.
Awesome. It's very doable. Kinji says, Poh Sim's leadership and work ethic is outstanding. This is her calling. Thank you, Patrice, for calling out her gifts. E-Community platform is an innovative model that could be licensed across different sectors. I love that. We ought to save Kinji's comments for some good promos. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Kinji. Again, you're watching with American Poh Sim, the director of E-Community, as well as the chief innovative officer for Nehemiah Project.
You say cheap, Patrice?
I said chief. We're reflecting on Digital Nehemiah Week 2020, how it was, and where we're heading beyond that. Now, Poh, one of the things we did do a fundraiser during Nehemiah Week. One of the fundraiser was to raise money to improve our platform. We are, God willing, next week we're going to hear from the Murdoch Trust about a grant that we submitted for. And so I want to invite those who are, if you've not yet contributed, you can still. Every dollar you give will be doubled through this grant. If you desire to contribute and help support our effort to invest in this e-community platform, you can go to nehemiahproject.kindinfo.com and make your contribution. You can sponsor an entrepreneur, sponsor a job, sponsor a business, whatever it is, or whatever the Lord lays in your heart. We're trying to raise $42,000 to help us qualify for the Murdoch Trust grant. And we'll let you know once we get it. We believe we're going to get it. Once we get it, that will allow us to not only enhance the current platform, but to also deploy a Spanish version, a Mandarin version, as well as a French version. We've actually began to hire new staff members or at least position them so that way, once we get the grant, we can go full force into launching these new platforms. So, Poh, let's talk about that a bit because this time next year will be you would have deployed 2 to 3 different languages. Tell us a bit about that. How do you go from single language platform to a multi-language platform, and what does that mean for the e-community?
Yeah, by God's grace, we will, Patrice, by this time next year. And I think we learned a lot of lessons, even in building the e-community platform. I mean, you remember how we started with the e-community 1.0. We were just trying so hard to get it going, with a very basic. And I know that, people have said that it was clunky and things like that. And then when we kind of sat down and we talked about the E-Community 2.0, we realized that we didn't have a choice, because in order to get the engagement going, we need to revamp the whole entire platform. And so it is one of those things where we kind of learn along the way, and as time allowed us to kind of improve and develop. But I think this new platform that we have is a good enough foundation, and we kind of seen how it works and how it functions. So now we're ready to kind of replicate that whole entire platform into the various languages, because we know that we have a market of these people in these different languages that we needed to cater to. So I think in terms of that, it makes it a little bit easier now that we have a prototype that we can replicate. But it is also challenging in the sense that it is almost as if Nehemiah spent 20 years putting everything together, right? It's not just a platform. It is building that network. It is building your trainers, your coaches, and all these courses and things like that. And now we have to kind of replicate the whole entire team, whether it is development, it is sales, it is tech support, member support, everything within these different languages. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put the teams together and take it one step at a time. But we cannot run away, I think, because that call for us is to be that global organization, to be able to extend our reach and meet the needs of these people who are non-English speaking as well.
Wow, powerful. That is really exciting. Now, Poh, along the way, you also, for the first time in the history of Nehemiah Project, a Malaysian, an Asian, was one top 3 at the business plan competition. First of all, let me say this for the first time publicly. I want to announce I've asked Poh Sim to serve as interim regional director for Asia. I had to fight her to accept that role, but so Poh Sim, I want to let everybody know right now, Poh Sim is our new Asian director of Nehemiah Project Asia on an interim basis, because I'm going to work with her to help us reorganize our efforts in Asia, starting in Malaysia. Now, Poh, so as soon as you name interim, and I asked you to kind of lead the effort starting in Nehemiah Week, you get a winner, 2nd place. And Poh worked hard to make sure that Chris got on my schedule, that we reviewed his plan, that we coached him. You spent time with him. So what is this about you and winning? I mean, Asia had not won until you became this director for Asia. Tell us a bit about it.
Patrice, I must tell you that one kept me on the edge of my seat a little bit to the very end. So first of all, let me say that, Sam and I are really thankful that when we started the restart, in Asia, beginning of last year, that we were able to hold a BE executive class. And I think one of the things that has kind of been proven, Patrice, is that this whole entire new model, whether it's the BE executive, together with the coaching and other services that we provided, proves beneficial for the people, because this is also the first time that they were able to complete their plan and complete their plan well. Because I think one of the challenges that we had, the previous years was that with the old model of BE was that they come and they learn all these things. But when it comes to actually executing that plan, there was that gap of, oh, now I don't really know what to do. So this is one of those classes. And thank you, Patrice, you as a trainer, as well as other HQ trainers that we kind of leveraged on, because we didn't really have, trainers, in Asia as well, to be able to kind of help them through it. And so I knew Chris had like a convincing plan. But I think it was those last minute things that, needed to be put in place, and he needed to get his head in the game and things like that. So that really, got me at the edge of my seat as well. But I think after the last meeting that I went through with him, I knew that his plan was convincing. And the reason why he also took so long, and you can talk to him too when you have him on a podcast, was that he was actually more concerned about his business being viable, because he knew that was what God called him to do, instead of competing. So his head was not so much in competing, but making sure that his business can run, and he wanted a plan that he can execute and execute well. And so when we kind of came together, just kind of pushing him towards the finishing line and saying, these are the pieces that you needed to have together. And I'm again, I'm so proud of him. And I think, you know, him winning is just kind of a testament of the system that we have put together, you know, and the different people that kind of came around him as well. So for that, we're really thankful.
Amen. And Kim, no, there's no nicer man that could have won. Chris is just a nice man. Has been helped us as a translator. He's just been a huge asset. Chris, congratulations. We're going to be scheduling Chris next week to come to the studio so that you can tell your story. You'll be coming back with Poh Sim, our new interim director, so that we can talk about your journey with biblical entrepreneurship and what this means to you. And Chris, he gets $3,000 as second place, of course, minus 20%, which within 20%, the 20% goes to the region to support the region, but the rest of it goes to Chris. Chris, congratulations. Catherine is excited. Thank you, Catherine. And Catherine, well, Poh, before I go on, tell them about your team, your Malaysian posse. I think you guys call it the Charlie Angels. Tell them about these Asian Charlie Angels that you got going. Tell them about Sam and Kat and right now, Chris is going to come and mess it up. You got roses right now, and Chris is going to be a thorn.
Well, Patrice, I mean, the team has been so amazing, you know, and we're so thankful for them. Sam joined us a couple of years ago, and she's just has such a huge heart, you know, and such a pleasant personality that she's able to like engage and connect with so many different ones, you know, and she's such a I call her the Swiss Army knife, and that's what you kind of used her for, you know. And then Kat joined us this year, you know, to kind of be on the back end, the supporting side. She has such a calm demeanor in terms of, you know, being able to support and meeting the needs of different ones, you know, and putting things in place. And so the team just kind of managed to get together, you know, and gelling so well. And we also have like our once a month outing where we go and with them, it's all about eating, but we're trying to do, you know, more like outdoor activities somehow, you know, things like that. But I think getting the team together in working well and building that relationship helps us to flow and get the, you know, it's like a well-oiled engine going. Yeah.
And that is, ladies, thank you so much, Kat and Sam. Now you let me use Sam. Sam has been such an asset to me personally. She's now my personal assistant, helped me out. And Poh always said to me, but you cannot have Kat. You already have Sam. And so thank you for letting me use Sam. You know, you used to do my PowerPoints. Now Sam, she, you know,
I know, and I said those PowerPoints are nice too. Thanks, Sam.
Great job.
Get off my back as much as possible.
That is awesome. I mean, these ladies are just an asset to the ministry. Kenji said, Charlie's Angels, love the trio. Great teamwork, ladies. Super committed to the process. And so Poh, so you guys win this and huge. And so let's talk about what that means for Asia. You know, what does a Chris win mean for Malaysia and for Asia?
I'm really hoping, Patrice, that it'll be okay. So let me say this again, kind of reflecting on Chris's win. And here's the key thing for me in terms of Chris. He is literally the representation of the link between ministry and business. He's the link between the English and the Mandarin speaking group. He's the link between the old BE alum as well as the new BE alum. So I must say, I think it's God just kind of, you know, lifting him up during this period of time as well. And so it demonstrates, I think, our ability to be able to train these people and help them to build a sustainable business, at least like, you know, a good business plan, and to be able to kind of walk with them as well. So I'm hoping that will kind of open doors for us, Patrice, that people will get to know more about what Nehemiah Project can do, how we can come alongside them, you know, walk with them, whether it is through training, coaching, you know, or what else further. And we're also looking for, you know, team members to be able to join us as well, to be able to build this work here. So not just people who want our services, but people who want to build together with us as well.
Awesome. Well said. Well, Chris, congratulations to Malaysia, and we look forward to what this will all mean in Malaysia. Poh, as we prepare to wrap up here, my next question to you is, I was telling you today that you have this unique unique acumen or unique ability to tap into the spirit and master the things of the spirit, as well as competence in the natural when it comes to process strategy. That unique blend of those two, that's what has made you such an asset to me and to this organization. So my question: most people have the spiritual, where they have the spiritual acumen, or they have the natural. They're competent in whatever they do, technology, marketing, whatever it is. But you happen to have both. I can rely on you to tap into the heart of God concerning a matter that we're working with, as well as try to bring it to excellence. What is it that have made you so? What would you say, what has allowed you to bring those two blends together?
I'm not sure. I think it's just kind of how God groomed me to be, between the real world experiences and training, and development. And also, I kind of grew up in ministry when I came to know God, just completely captivated by him. And even during summer, when I came back from college, I spent every day volunteering in the church office. So it was just kind of a heart for ministry. And I think with my pastors always, imparting all these things to me, it was one of those things that, I mean, without God, what in the world are we doing all these things for, right? It's all in vain. But really, my heart is constantly still praying that we will be able to discern the heart of God and the strategies of God so accurately. And I think we've kind of seen how he has led us so far, step by step, even with things that we didn't know was coming, but he kind of cornered us or led us to build and kind of see his faithfulness leading us. But still, I think my heart is to continue to have a greater discernment of the strategies of what he's doing in the spirit realm, that we can partner with him to be able to execute and to be able to empower all these people globally to build his kingdom for him.
Oh, wow. Amen. 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 Samantha says this about Chris Choi. She says, Chris Choi wins has been an encouragement not only to him, but for many alums in Malaysia, old and new. That is awesome. We're going to have Chris Choi here in the studio next week to hear about his story. Poh will come back with him. As a matter of fact, Victor, if you could work with Sam and Poh to schedule Chris Choi next week, I'll appreciate it. It'll be the similar time next week, Asia. Let's maybe look at maybe Tuesday, because I'll be on travel. No, not Tuesday. Maybe Monday, because I'll be on travel next week. So that's awesome. Now, Poh, first, before I ask my last question, what's in the future for Poh Sim, the great Poh Sim? When you look at the next 12 to 24 months, what are you looking at?
I think we're going to be busy building these platforms, Patrice, but also I think, like we said, kind of learning to discern where God is leading us, especially given this new situation that we're in, and what resources that we can make available to be able to support the network that we have already built. But I think for me, my heart is really in like you said, the innovation, the development, to be able to see what are the possibilities out there, what we can improve to be able to create not just a platform, an avenue where people can really connect, flourish, learn and grow together. So we'll see, what doors God opens up to us.
Amen. Amen. And what I'm excited for you for, Poh, I remember when you were the only one and you worked your heart out. And I used to talk to you about having a team around you that frees you up. And times you didn't believe me. But by the grace of God, you had the conviction, and now seeing how slowly God is bringing people around you to release you to really flourish and shine in your sweet spot and empowering other people around the globe. That's exciting.
And Patrice, I must say, I think it's only been 4 years, but it feels like such a long time. And like, look how much God has done and how far He has brought us. And I don't think in my wildest dreams I would be able to imagine all that He has done, even through us. And I know I always said, like, I felt like God kind of had to trick me into it, and He really did, because I would have said no, I couldn't do it. But to really see Him lead, you each step of the way, and looking back, kind of attribute all of that to His grace and His mercy that has kind of helped us to be able to get where we have been so far.
Every leader needs a Poh Sim. I believe in my heart of hearts. I often talk about that. Steve Jobs has his person, Bill Gates. Every great leader had a Poh Sim, somebody who has that C personality, and that could come alongside and help make it happen. Poh, you've done so much for us, for the ministry, for bees around the world. What does Poh want? What's in Poh's heart?
Poh's heart is to see even more people be touched by the gospel of the Lord. There's still I think one of the key things for me was right before I entered into Nehemiah Project. I remember kind of hearing clearly from God, and I heard Him say, you kind of invested in Penang, Malaysia for the past number of years. And because, sorry. No, okay. I remember kind of crying out to Him saying, what are we doing? There's still so many people out there who has yet to know Him. And so I think it was one of those significant times when God was saying, I'm extending your borders up, because there are still so many people out there. And I think that's why, I feel like Nehemiah is a place where, even though I can kind of contribute my skills, but we're in partnership with so many kingdom businesses out there, people who are out there to bring about, the gospel to touch their own communities. And we cannot do it alone. And so that's why we come together as one whole big family to be able to just do our part and to see God, piece a whole entire masterpiece together for His story that He wants to tell.
Well said. And I remember one time you and I talked, and we talked about when this economic engine start flowing, your desire, your ability to set up that foundation, have the resources to be able to go and impact communities with that constraint of money.
Yeah, and so when we talked about the whole E-Community, to me, like, I saw a whole pool of resource, and a community together where we can deploy and mobilize to be able to reach these and to be able to do community development, not just be able to touch them in terms of spiritually, economically, and every other thing, because we would then have like a big enough network to be able to mobilize, and we're not just one trying to do, and carry out this massive call of God by ourselves.
Wow. May God give us the grace. But Poh, thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for allowing God to use you in this way. Thank you for being a friend and a partner. Really been a privilege working with you. And thank you for having a heart for your country and for Asia in midst of serving us in the world, being willing to take out this task as the new interim director for Nehemiah Project Asia. And of course, as we work, our desire is that someday we could anoint somebody else to take on this role as the Lord helps to raise the people. Poh, as we wrap up here, there's somebody watching this podcast or listening to us, and they're saying, Poh, I want you. I would like to discover my gifting and talent. I would like to have this spiritual maturity. I would like to get to a place where God can use me. Advice would you give him? What advice would you give him, Poh?
I think the practical answer would be come and join our Identity and Destiny, course. Other than seeking and praying, I think one of those things, what I do like about the course is that it kind of walks you through, step by step in kind of discovering yourself. And it actually pushes you to really seek God for, how He has wired you and all that. And I tell you, it is a journey. Sometimes you do not know until you step into it. You do not know until you work at it. And then you discover, hey, I have a niche, or this is my sweet spot, you know, versus something else. But it all starts with that first step of faith. You're going to have to do something about it to kind of discover it, and not just sit and, you know, forgot to throw down a blueprint. I discovered that God doesn't really necessarily work that way very much, you know. But as you walk each step of the way, that God will bring clarity.
Wow. Wow. Amen. And by the way, if you want to join our Identity and Destiny course, go to Nehemiah E-Community.com. Go to find a class, and there you'll be able to find the upcoming Identity and Destiny course, and you can be a part of that. It will help you to discover and uncover your identity and your destiny and how you are wired to work in your God-giving sweet spot. If you want to get in touch with Poh, go to Poh Sim at Nehemiah Project.org. Poh Sim at Nehemiah Project.org. By the way, Poh also leads the E-Community Center, the center in Penang, Malaysia. Out of there, all the things that she does for the ministry, they also provide that for other entrepreneurs and businesses. If you desire, if you need help, just contact her, Poh Sim at NehemiahProject.org, and they can help you, whether it's with graphics or whether with web or technology, and so forth, because those are the people that make it happen for Nehemiah Project, and we can make it available for you too as well. Poh, thank you so much. Thank you for your partnership. We're going to bring you back from time to time, because you can see people want to see and hear from you, and they want to get to know what's in the mind of the great Poh Sim. Poh, again, thank you so much. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast, share it. Share with as many people as you can. Share it on your Facebook, share it in your various social media platforms, so that it can encourage somebody else. Because if it's blessed you, then it may bless somebody else as well. Maybe you have a friend or somebody that you know that you believe that they may be struggling with their identity, getting a sense of clarity of their own purpose. Share it far and share it wide. And if you would like for us to work with you to help you in you on your own journey of building your kingdom business, enhancing it, or discovering your purpose, God's plan for you, just go to our website, NehemiahEcommunity.com. NehemiahEcommunity.com. And there you can learn about our training, our coaching, our access to capital, and you can join our community so that together we can transform the world. With that said, I want to pray for you. Again, thank you, Poh, for being with us.
Thank you
And
for
then tomorrow, I'm going to have a guest. The next 2 days, there'll be a guest host. Tomorrow, Charles Kearse will be a guest host in this podcast. He'll be interviewing a great urban entrepreneur. So you look, I believe is, anyway, you'll enjoy tomorrow's podcast with Charles Kearse. And then on Friday, Frank Kitanga will be guest hosting for me, and you'll enjoy those as well. So tune in and check them out in the next 2 days. I'll be back on Monday, and then we'll continue our dialogue. Well, let me pray for you. Thank you again, team. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that He's placed under your care. May He enable you to steward them in such a way that one day you can hear those wonderful words, just like Poh Sim. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. He'll make you ruler over much. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Thank you again, Poh.
Thank you, Patrice.